Hello, and welcome to our show, Midwest Weekly, starring myself, Hairwiz, and my co-host, Clt. We are here to give you a breakdown of Week 5 extended tiebreaker action across the Midwest Sweat League Spring Split here in 2025. It's been a really exciting year so far for us. These first 5.5 weeks, I'm going to call it, because it's not really a full week here for tiebreakers, have just been excellent all across the way. With that said, we do have a total of, I believe, 5 series and one more game to cover, because we did cover one of the games last week on the Week 5 recap episode. So on this one, we're going to cover the tiebreaker matches. Also, me and CLT are going to give you a rundown of our predictions and match breakdowns of each of the 4 playoff matches here that will be taking place this week. That'll be your wildcard action. I will dive deep into that. We also are going to have some guests on today. Expect to hear from them when we get to the predictions part of the episode. Some players are going to come in and talk about their matchups and kind of give their personal opinion and breakdown of what they think of the matchups in totality. All right. Now, of course, I wouldn't expect any other player not to pick their own team, so I'm really not going to ask them to predict their own matchup. But me and CLT, we will go in and we will break that down for you. But as I always do, and as I will always say, is ask my friend, my co-host here, CLT, how his day's been going, and how his week's been so far. So, CLT.
Yeah, man. Day was rough, but overall, it's just par for the course. And week's been pretty good to me. I can't complain.
Very good. I mean, I know that you mentioned to me earlier that you might have had a bit of a rough work day, so I definitely get those. But you survived and you made it home safe, so that's always a blessing. With that said, I'll give a quick one more little quick rundown here, just so we know what we're looking at and we're breaking down. So coming into the week, we knew that we had the tiebreaker matches. In Group A, we knew that Femboys, Coin Flip, Instinct, which is still going to show tie on here. I can't manually change it. It's annoying. But anyways, it was a three-way tie for the first seed. We did cover Coin Flip and Instinct, like I said last week, so we knew the answer to that before this episode. So then we're going to have to cover Femboys versus Instinct here, and to see who gets the 1 seed. And then in Group B, we know we had a three-way tie between UAFS for Fun and Cal Poly, so we will cover those series for you. And then we knew that Group C had a three-way tie between Froggy Style, Scorch, and Vancouver, and then we'll cover those couple series for you. All right, so why don't we go ahead and dive into the first one, CLT, and I know this was one you did cast. So it's Group A, Femboys versus Instinct.
Yeah, Femboys first Instinct. Really heavy heated matchup. Femboys was they were the ones that put us in this situation by taking the Week 5 series off Instinct. So they got to be kind of the top of the hill here, and both these teams are full strength for this match. So this was hyped from the beginning. You have what I would consider 2 of the top mids in the league here in Monk Mentality. He's had an excellent debut split. It's the first time the Femboys have been in the league. But Good Boy, we all know just how insane of a mid he is. So yeah, this was super hyped. I liked the draft, honestly, from both sides. I thought the Ivern was a nice, interesting pick coming out of Instinct. And Femboys kind of flexing this Gwen into the jungle here during the pick ban was really solid of them. The biggest thing that stood out in this game was dude, my boy Don came here to play this game. This I've never seen a Braum 1v9 as much as Don Don did. He had so many insane like clutch Braum E's and just insane protection, lockets, everything to stop Monk Mentality from going this full like burst build. I think he went lost chapter into like double pin, and he still could not get through Good Boy or Eclipse when this happened. So uh, both these teams traded blows early and even into the mid game. The only thing that stood out objective wise would have felt like Femboys were getting the first move on objectives. Uh, Ended up being like if we take a little snapshot here, 20 minutes. It was two Drakes and three Grubs to nothing. I think yeah, Instinct did get a the Rift Herald, but between how great the bot lane was playing, Don Don and Eclipse in the laning phase compared to the top side of the map where Inferno and Don't Ban Yasuo on this win were popping off. It was going to be just an epic clash, and these last couple team fights here were just absolutely insane to watch. But Don Don really stood out in the fights here, just Braum doing Braum things and protecting everybody.
Yeah, I do see Braum starting the game with 3 kills, so I think that helped Don Don do some work in the game.
Yeah.
When you end up getting that gold like that on support. A lot of times you definitely don't want to see support get that, and even as good of a support Don Don is, I don't even think you'd really want to see your Braum getting all those kills, right? You'd want the gold on your Corki or the gold on your, I mean, even your Ivern is okay, I think. But with that said, that at the end of the day, if you can utilize that gold and your team can understand that you're just the Fed support and you have to play around that, which means like you're not as strong as normal, so in the carry spots. Um, at certain points in the game, I think it's still very playable. But it is like, man, imagine if I had this gold on my Corki and he's up, you know, a full freaking almost 3 items or something because he's so fed or something like that at one point in the game. That's a lot different than just being up, which I'm looking at about 17 and a half minutes here. He's up only about roughly in about a half an item, which is still significant enough, right? But I also see Corki end up getting some kills throughout that time period, so it kind of helped out. But yeah, that's pretty insane. Another thing I'll note is Gwen jungle, we've kind of see it fall off a bit, but it looks like Don't Ban Yasuo was playing extremely well. I've already seen a couple fights now where he's just kind of popping off, getting picks, and utilizing it pretty well. And I do think it's a really nice matchup in Ivern. I don't really see what Ivern can really do into the Gwen, if anything. And I don't know how much the shields even matter too, to be honest. But on the flip side of that, Avo is a very, very good Ivern player. Something that I've noticed he's probably the only person in the league wants to play. So um, when you're looking at the comp, which has a Varus and a Syndra, I'm sorry, not I said that wrong. As a Corki and a Victor, I think the Ivern works pretty well. They're buffing both of them up, and then you have the frontline support, so the Ivern isn't like double shielding here with like a Lulu or something crazy like that. So I think it's pretty nice for the comp they drafted.
Yeah, it worked really well. Especially like once Corky got off the ground and then Victor scaled, and Bessa doesn't mind some healing and shielding around her either.
Yeah, but they did have a bit of an answer in the shield department, right? They had the Renekton. He could break down those shields pretty easily. So it's like it was a really nice comp drafted by both teams. It looks like every time somebody took something, they had a counter for it or an answer for it at least, if not a counter, which is just really excellent drafting from both teams. Obviously, you mentioned the Syndra into Victor is technically Syndra favorite, I think. Nothing crazy, but definitely usually a pretty good lane for her. Um, but at the same point, like you're getting two pretty hard scalar mid laners, so I think either side of the matchup is happy. And then you just draft something for the defense, and that's the Ivern. So it's like there's constantly something picked up to where you could see that both teams were on their A game for this game, and it meant a lot to both of them. They understand what's at stakes. It wasn't just as simple as, well, hey, it's just It's just a buy. And you could look at it that way. But I've always said, and I will always say, a free win's a free win. And what I mean by that is automatically being in quarters, not having to play a series in the wildcard round. That's just a free win. So this game had stakes, but it also didn't have all the stakes because the loser isn't out or anything, right? So the pressure isn't like mounting on you, which is pretty nice. So, uh, what was kind of the way this game kind of ended up ending or breaking open? Because I see a lot of back and forth throughout the game.
Yeah, the last fight here was around the 30 and a half, 31-minute mark. Was kind of posturing here in the river, and Ashes kind of got his ult baited out there by Avalon, and overall was just it turned into a big jungle fight afterwards, which Don Don did pretty well, blocking a majority of the Syndra damage to save Avalon, and then they just kind of played through Eclipse and Victor here in this mid lane fight. Arctic had a really good kind of side flank by the Mbessa, which did the rest of the work on the back line. But I think the key about this is just the fact that like Syndra, if she can't one shot anybody with with the Storm Surge Deathcap build, then it's the champion just kind of really doesn't do much. She had a really good QE to open up the fight, but it just ultimately didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, I thought saw that, and they poured like almost everything into the Ivern, and somehow he lived. Kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, that was the Don Don shield. I think he blocked out of like the five orbs, he blocked four of them from Syndra ult, and then afterwards he just gave his life for the cause.
Just some
And his good
secret
boys off to the side.
secret hidden tech right there. That'll do
Yeah.
it for you. But yeah, so they picked up this victory, so that means they were able to move on here and secure that one seed on the side of Instinct CK. Um, I don't know if anyone was really expecting that outcome. I mean, that's two great teams going at it. Obviously, Femboys got them in week 5, but they were able to claw back and find themselves at the top of the world once again at the, I believe, 4th seed. So congratulations again to Instinct, and it's going to be a fun playoffs for them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think the key between these the Group A tiebreakers is that when they all played each other, there was subs involved, but this whole tiebreaker situation, they all played with full rosters, and they actually got to see, who was legit king of the hill.
Yep, exactly. Well, I think with that King of the Hill being said and done, I think we can jump into the next set of games. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into Group B now and discuss those series over there. We had 3 played. We'll go in order, which the first one would have been Cal Poly versus For Fun. Let me pull that up for you guys in just a second, if I can find it. Uh, right here. Okay. I've got it pulled up. Now, this one was casted by Nexus. I watched a little bit of it. CLT, were you able to catch any of this game or this series?
I caught I caught a majority of the first game, but this series started at 11 p.m. Eastern, so I
Yeah,
eventually threw in the white flag on middle of game 2, and I did not catch any of game 3.
I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, looking over here, I mean, at these these games, it was a full 3, man. They went the distance. So these teams were fighting for their lives. Just said, hey, let's get it on like Donkey Kong, but in league form. Uh, but yeah, this game 1 here. I mean, you got some really standard picks from both teams. Nothing that we haven't seen out of either of them. So very comfort in game 1. Frozen's been gravitating towards this Vi now for basically 2 straight splits. Something he's kind of made his own at this point. Obviously, Vi's been strong for all of this split, but he's one of the most big Vi enjoyers we know. It's into a Pantheon, which isn't too shabby, I think. Uh, like the skirmish goes in Pantheon's favor because of the W, but you can actually buffer it with Q, and if you do, it's kind of breaks the CC chain and just kind of goes even, and then from there it's just who's got more damage, right? But very good comps. What do you think of what you're looking at here?
Uh, Overall, I think kind of as you mentioned, these are two team comps that we're not surprised that these teams would bust out. Gyarados has been a very big like Pantheon enjoyer. There's been some other Pantheon jungles in here, but this is definitely like one of his more most played picks. And we see Sloppy Poppy on an engaged support, Botswana coming in for eyeless glasses, which again will extend the congrats to him on the internship that he got. So he did have to unfortunately leave the team for the split, but brighter future, so can't complain there. Uh but then also, looking over at the forfeit of 20 squad, we've seen Traxxas gravitate towards, the Yasuo, the Echo, and Quantum Force kind of subbing in for Mage. I think he's played a majority of the games here as the main support sub. But yeah, overall, I thought these were two teams that kind of got left the draft and got exactly what they wanted, and they just brawled here. And yeah, Frozen on this Vi, he looked scary in this early to mid game. I mean, at 22 minutes, I'm already seeing all three dragons as they're kind of posturing for Otacon there. Um, so Frozen definitely was all over this map. Uh, and from what I remember watching this game live, he did everything he could to put his team in a position to win. I like the Yasuo with an AP top laner and then a jungler that has access to a bunch of knockups. Rakan's also like a really nice addition to that team comp. So I think overall, Forfeit built a comp that took advantage of what a lot of their players want to do.
Yeah, I think for Yasuo here, you want to play mostly off of the knockup from the Rakan, just because he can get multiple members. But if you are playing off the alt from Vi, which is fine, like in the mid lane, the biggest thing I would have to say is you definitely want to make sure to get the proper CC chain. Is be patient as the Vi ult's coming down, and then alt, and you'll get like a really good CC chain. They won't be able to click abilities, man. Like whoever you're killing, like that victor is just gonna disappear. Um,
Yeah.
with that said, though, I do agree. I think the comp there synergized well. Setting up the really the only Yasuo player we truly have. Nobody else has shown any interest in playing him. I think I think Yasuo is a fine champion, man. I do think he's balanced pretty well and has been for a long time. The problem is, and this will always be Yasuo's problem, he's got really low range. You have to hope the Yasuo can maybe set up his own knockups just so you don't have to be forced to play around that. And if you are, the game can just become difficult because you're just locked in that type of comp. So I feel like at this point I almost find Yasuo's better probably split pushing than he is like forced to constantly fight. Like you want to draft a better four team fight and have him just on the sideline doing something. That's just kind of my take Yasuo, and it can you see it by the fact that you don't see him in pro play, and every time he's picked, it's like very low chance he's gonna win the game. From what I've seen personally.
Yeah, I think the only time Yasuo's even played at the highest levels, it's with like a Diana or a Gragas, where you can guarantee you knock up the specific target you want. Um, if you're just relying on raw skill for Yasuo, it's really hard to just play him without a bunch of setup. He's
Yeah,
almost basically relegated to being an R bot assassin.
right, and that's just not getting enough out of the champion at that point. But even with that said, Chazix is a very good Yasuo player, so I think it's just fine having him pick the champion here. And I see here even at 28 minutes they're hitting onto this Baron, trying to see if it gets stolen or not. It does not. It is secured. So they were able to get their lead and then just kind of push it down with that. And sometimes that's all it really takes. And whether Yasuo is super good or super bad is not even relevant because if you got a lead, the Yasuo is going to look extremely good. So
Yeah.
Did they end up taking this game one, by the way?
They did.
They did. Okay. So this was just the Frozen Chazik show for this game one. That's what
Yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
seeing.
Frozen made so much happen in this early game, and it let Yasuo like freely scale. I know they sidelined this Yasuo quite a bit
Yeah, I mean,
to
I
like
really
keep
do think he wants to be there. I mean, even into Renekton as the game progresses, he's fine. Like Renekton early mid game, it's kind of hard. Once a Yasuo scales, he just kites him out. It's pretty easy, I think, for Yasuo. There's too much damage coming out of that kit. But yeah, I mean, really excellent game one here out of Frozen, and he put his team in a situation to give him a chance to win this series. But unfortunately, as we're going to dive into the next two games, the outcome is not what he obviously wanted in the end. Um, but a valiant effort and a really, really nice showing from him. So he's 6-1-16 here at 35 minutes. So they triple inhib and they still haven't been able to end the game. Did they get an elder before they end? Like,
You talking about for this game one?
mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah, they do.
think.
They end up getting elder here at 36
Oh yeah, they
minutes.
did.
Holy
hmm
moly! It took a whole entire elder to end this game. Seems kind of criminal.
I mean, they are a very low wave clear comp, and Victor Varus is not terrible at getting rid of super minions. So that's the other thing that becomes difficult to play with like a Yasuo comp is just low wave clear, especially Yasuo mids. So it's very hard to like end the game into a dedicated wave clear mage.
Yeah, 10-0 off this Yasuo pick, and Frozen ended up finishing 6-2-21. That's absolutely insane. And I'm not taking nothing credit out of the 80 carry here as well. Ash 11-3-11. Oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah. What a game one. Let's go ahead and jump into game two. You said you caught a little bit of game two, so I'll let you kind of take off with the.
I did catch a little bit. We seen in the draft here at forfeit wanted to take this Ari away, but Cal Poly kind of bringing out a champion that recently just got buffed, and we might see a lot in playoffs is Senna here from Jubilatory, which I think is actually a really nice pick into like Ezreal Thresh. Because Ezreal without like another poke support just kind of feels like he's sitting back farming, and that just lets Senna have a really solid laning phase to like meet Ezreal in this mid game. Oh, excuse me. Um, but overall, I think the big thing that stood out here is kind of the top side of the map for Cal Poly really turned up the stakes here. You know, Botswana picking this Mordekaiser. Let me just make sure. Yeah, he R5 this Mordekaiser with Malphite showing, which is naturally going to be a really good pick into Malphite. And I just felt like they had no way of protecting this Malphite. You know, Frozen tried to come up and do some work in here, but this Mordekaiser just got really big. I mean, we see here at like the 14-minute mark, already got 4 kills, and he's sitting on a Rylai's, which makes it impossible for now Frozen or Loki, whoever gets ulted in that 2v2 to run away. But then afterwards, we see the stability in the mid lane from Gojo. You know, he's always played this way really well, and there was a really big kind of it wasn't that this game wasn't already broken open like it's a 4K gold lead, but there was a big fight here at like the 16.5-minute mark where there was a big 4 or 5v5 in the bot lane, and Mordekaiser ended up getting a quadra kill off of it, which was absolutely massive.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that even like this early Drake that I saw, they like looked like they were in a really nice spot for the Drake. There was a really decent hook here onto the the Senna, and Frozen kind of uses his W to hop the wall instead of just taking the lantern, which I think could have resulted in possibly the kill, but also his safety as well when the team collapsed. And so when you see small little errors like this, oh, Jubilatory snipe with the ult too on Ari. Ooh, oh, poor Tragics. 8 minutes if you're wondering. But yeah, I
Yeah.
just I can see like where the issues could start to align if you're not on the same page there. But yeah, Botswana on this Malphite, I'm really not surprised that. Or not on Malphite, I'm sorry, but Botswana on the Mordekaiser. They're both M, so okay. Botswana on Mordekaiser. I'm not surprised to see Mordekaiser win that matchup because really, what does Malphite do there? But with that said, it's not you're not playing it for lane anyways, right? If you're playing Malphite there, you're like, hey, my job is just to survive, right? You did give up an early kill, um, but I don't know if Botswana continues to bully him down. I got to kind of check more into the game here. Let's take a peek. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I clicked a little further in, 17 minutes, and uh, yeah, Mordekaiser's 8-0-2. Yeah, Loki seemed like he was struggling a bit up there in the top side.
Well, I mean, Loki got to like an MR breakpoint where I think he can play this okay, but then the TP bot side where Mordekaiser gets a quadra kill here
What's
right
the
at like this with like 16.5 minute mark. It's the start of the play. Um, that's what really like broke this game open. And after that, like you need to send 3 or 4 people at Botswana on those split push.
Yeah, but even then, he was still 4-0 even at that point. So this just made
Yeah,
him
yeah.
even bigger.
Hmm.
Malphite comes in. He only ends up getting one with his ulti, which is not good or bad, I guess. But you definitely want to get more value out of that ult. But yeah, Botswana coming in here is just an absolute force. Oh man, does he just
Yeah.
dive them? Is that what he does? Jesus.
He just starts to run everybody down with this Rylai's here.
Yeah, I mean there
Yeah.
wasn't much they could do. Should have gave him the penta. Were they trying to give him the penta? Oh no, the
Uh,
red buff stole it.
that's right. The red buff did steal it. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Botswana could have had a penta on the Mordekaiser. Gosh darn it, Gyarados. What are you doing, buddy? That's pretty funny. I mean, yeah. I mean, there wasn't much they could have done at that point with the Mordekaiser coming in. You used all your major cooldowns, and he's already big. You kind of can't be surprised to see that, you know. So yeah, this just looks like the top lane game, man. But it was nice that he came in and got to have a moment to shine, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely was a feel good moment. Knowing that you're coming in as now the new top laner and your first like full series. There's a quadra.
Yeah, here's just a quadra. Lay it down
Yeah.
onto people's heads. But yeah, excellent game there from them. They were able to pick up the victory and push us into a third game. So you said you weren't able to check that out. So let's kind of take a peek at the draft here real quick. See what they did. So we gotta get a feel. They did have the Annie in the mid lane. I remember seeing that for Trozix. I know Annie has kind of dropped off a bit. I don't remember when this game was played, if the nerfs had gone through a little bit for her already in the patch or not, or if it's this patch that she's getting nerfs. Nonetheless, I know she's been strong for a bit. Scion top, I think, is really, really good. Works well with setting up more with the Rel. If Rel goes in first, Scion can follow. If Scion goes in first, Rel can follow. So I think the comp that for fun drafted looks pretty decent. I'm only concerned really with the range here because Kaisa does not have a lot of range, and so you're counting on what Annie Q to be your range. I don't think that's really good, and I'm noticing a lot with these Kaisa comps recently that's the problem with Kaisa. It's not that Kaisa is a bad champion; it's that you have to draft some range around it, whether it's in your mid lane or your top lane, maybe even your jungler, like if you want to play Kindred or something. You just need some more range. Because if you get into any of these standoffs around Drakes and stuff, you just get poked for free. That's the worst. And you're doing with Corki missiles and Zaya, who's got what a pretty decent range, right? So that's pretty hard, and that's not even including Karthus Qs. So yeah, how do you like get in there for free without taking damage before the fight even starts? So
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think Kaisa, from what like the successful Kaisa games we've seen this split, it almost feels like you just need to play her as more of a assisting dive champion to follow up. Something like Vi really sets her up well, or like Lilia.
Yeah, well,
Um,
she's really low on the prio in my opinion, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that um she's not very strong right now, and she hasn't been for most of the season. Like, just go check her out. Like, her stats are not crazy. She's always been really good and competitive because you can build better comps around her, but she's got kind of self pill. But it still seems like the champion might Loki need maybe some small little buffs or something because I don't know, man. The champion just looks kind of weak to me when I see her, and part of that's maybe the range. So maybe if the meta shifts and it becomes low range carries, maybe then she'll be fine. I don't know, man.
yeah, yeah, I think she's definitely in a weird state. I'm actually surprised here looking at this game. I know I'm a big merchant for like AP Kaisa opportunities, and I feel like this is actually like a really solid AP Kaisa. I don't know if you come online quick enough to really like play the what if game, but there's not much outside of like Leona in the mid to late game when she actually does get this like really tank items into her. Who's gonna tank a lot of these empowered W's?
Yeah,
Um, and honestly, I feel like AP Kaisa knowing casting the 4 Fun 20 squad, how Trazix likes to play these low range mages, like your Echo, your Yasuo's, your melees kind of thing. That AP Kaisa wouldn't be on the board for them, but we do see the Annie coming out, which I think Annie's in an okay spot. Like some people would even say she got really nice buffs before these incoming nerfs, but this just doesn't look like the comp you want to play Annie into. Like they're not as super committal as you'd think. Like you're just getting poked out, Karthus Ard, and then Leona's like, okay, I'm gonna start the fight and kind of just pick off the remaining health bar you got.
yeah.
So
I'm gonna try to find the breaking point of the game here, just so we can kind of close out this series here. Um, but it was a very long one. It was late when they played, so I'm sure everybody was feeling pretty exhausted. It seems pretty tight throughout the game, though. I mean, even here at 17 minutes, only about a 3K gold lead for Cal Poly. Not insane. Kills are pretty close, but yeah, I'm noticing the Karthus and the Aatrox are just kind of getting strong, and I don't think you want either of those champions to do that in this game.
yeah,
Because I don't think you can have a Karthus ult dropping on your head and anybody except for the Scion and be okay with it. Like if you're getting chunked hard before a fight just because he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna click R before the fight, that kind of sucks. If you're the side of for fun, so letting that Karthus get big is pretty scary. So I'm gonna go here.
I'm
Um,
seeing here at the 22-minute mark where it looks like they try to make a move on Gojo. Oh man, this Karthus ult, so much
all
work.
right, so
Just before the
your 22 minute is. I'll check that in a second, but I think 26 minutes is where the game ends here. They end up hitting Baron. Um, but I'll take a peek at that 22 minutes as well. So it must have been two kind of fights beforehand. They try to turn on Botswana. Dude, Gyarados' ult is like almost half HP of the entire team. like, good luck. Um, they almost had a moment where they could have won the fight too. There was a nice little play there by Frozen, but once everybody showed up, it just it kind of fell apart quickly. The Corki plus the Zaya, you just have so much damage coming out of these double ADs, and that was how the game ended. But I'll peek at the 22 real quick. You were talking
yeah
about.
22. I kind of feel like this fight was kind of the deflating fight for forfeit at 20. Here they catch Gojo out, but his team followed up real quick, and then the Karthus ult before the fight really kicked off.
Yeah, and I kind of
Kind of kind of set the tone for the rest of the fight.
yeah, and that's what I was kind of mentioning too. Like that stuff was it's hard for them to tank any of that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, they took forever to even kill Gojo, which was also part of the problem. I mean, Chazix was basically dead before the fight even started. When everyone else showed up.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and that's the same thing at the 26 minutes. If you take a peek, like it's just you try to play it out, but Karthus ult comes down in your head. Dude's split pushing, by the way, and goodbye to half your HP. You know.
Karthus over 10 CS a minute. at this 26-minute fight. By the way, like this Karthus is super farmed up.
Yeah, he was farming up and farming well. But all right,
Hmm.
we can jump into the next series here, which would be, give me a second, who was played next? UAFS versus Cal Poly. So I remember casting this series. I want to say, yeah, because there was two Namis and I was getting thrown off. I was like, these darn
Uh,
the two Namis. What do I do?
hmm.
Yeah, and they went back to Cal Poly went back to that comp from the previous day, which was the Senna Nautilus and the bot lane here. Some changes towards the top side of the map, but they weren't able to get enough done because this Jinx was just Iman had a freaking game, dude. Let me just say, like this was a crazy performance. The way this game ended, it was like the Jinx was dead to rights, got a zillion ulti, came back to life, and just exploded on everybody. It was pretty insane. But if you're letting a champion like Jinx get ahead and get damage uh, earlier than she's supposed to, you know you're in for a world of hurt, especially with a zillion kind of backing her up. Um, and then you had the dispersity here, or not dispersity, that's the wrong word. You had something to kind of interrupt things, which was the Wukong. So I thought the comp that they built was really, really nice. I also believe Doom was subbing in too. So I don't know how that hurt Cal Poly here, but he did not play the previous day.
Yeah, I'm looking. I didn't catch any of the series to be honest, but looking at just the comps here, I really like what UAFS just overall drafted. Like this Zillion, I wouldn't say I'm a big like Zillion support merchant. It has its spots and it has its players, but this Zillion support looks like it's in a really insane spot here. There's only really Gyarados like super threatening the back line. So having this Zillion there to just pick up to just basically deny what Gyarados wants to do, denies the resets on the Fury ult. Um, it's just really hard to deal with for Cal Poly's comp. It's like you have two really extreme DPS backliners that need a few minutes to scale, and this is Azir and Senna, but then you have a really early game assassin that just wants to go in and cause some hell. So the comp looks a little disjointed draft wise.
Yeah, I kind of want to say I might have mentioned that too, though I do think you could just play Neferi for the reset during fights off of Azir Senna damage. But yeah, it's a bit difficult for Neferi to kind of I think play the game as free. I mean, there's the Wukong there, and Turtle picking this Wukong up was really smart. It's a known counter into Neferi at this point. Um, Gets on top of her, really makes it difficult for her to really do anything, and you can also cancel her alt jump thing. So I mean, you have a lot of countermeasures to deal with as the Neferi. But the big saving grace in this game for a bit for Cal Poly was Gojo on the Azir. He kind of had the range and the damage to possibly carry, but there was just nothing to peel. Like there was just no peel for the Azir, and eventually just that was the biggest issue I think in this game and what kind of cost them the eventual loss in the end. They only had one way to go, and it was truly just in.
Hmm. Yeah, neither comp's like 100% perfect, but yeah, looking at what Cal Poly did, it's kind of on the hands of Gojo to have a good early game, get accelerated, and being able to threaten the dive or threaten the damage in return for the dive here. So, because
Yeah,
Senna just doesn't get online quick enough.
I mean Senna is just the exemplary of true late game. I feel like as an AD carry,
Yeah,
and I don't
yeah,
know what do
agreed.
you like more? You like Senna or Jinx, man? I think I'd take Jinx every time.
I'm taking Jinx every time. Like I haven't really seen Senna being that insanely effective. I just feel like it's in that Ash Jhin world, but even like more skewed towards utility
Yeah.
and usefulness than say like raw damage like Jhin can be. It does. It makes me think of like an Ashe a little bit more.
right?
Um, and I would argue Ashe has more DPS than Spikes earlier.
Yeah.
So,
So if you go
um,
to 33 minutes, you'll see a Baron fight here, and mind you, Soul had already been taken here by the side of UAFS, but they got a pick here on the Cassante, but it just did not matter. There was just so much damage going on this Jinx, and Turtle found a beautiful Cyclone engage. But yeah, it ended in a Jinx quadra kill, and this was just the example of how insane it was. I mean, I think this was the actual ending of the game. I want to say there's a fight right before that that was even more insane. Let me find it for you real quick though. But you can see the strength of the team. Like how do you play the game? Like you just don't.
yeah.
So I'm trying to find this. There's this Jinx play, man, where the Jinx got alted by the Zillion, came back to life. It was in the top side of the map, and it was like, what did I just watch? Like Jinx should be dead. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. It was one of those, definitely one of those cracked plays.
31 minutes. I'm seeing something like oh, looks like Jinx might fall here. No, no, this might be what you're referring to,
No,
where it leads
it's
into the
before.
drink squatter.
No,
Oh,
it's before that. Then it's like she literally does die to Zillion ulti. She has Zillion ulti up. She dies and it comes back to life and gets like tons of resets and just goes absolutely off. But I just don't remember where it would have occurred.
see, I'm seeing a Baron fight at 33.
But you know what? Maybe this was the other. No, this is the only one with the freaking Zillion Jinx. I was gonna say maybe there's another game. And they're like, no, it's not it. It's not it.
Yeah.
Maybe it just happens earlier in the game than I remember. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go before she turns 6 and
Oh,
3.
Beamon. By the way, putting up 54k worth of damage this game. Almost
Yeah,
55.
dude was absolutely cracked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's actually quite an interesting dynamic
I
that
can't find it and I give up. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
it's an interesting dynamic of like if Jinx puts out a boatload of damage and then someone falls during the Zillion revive that she comes back with the passive
Hmm.
and just starts to like really run amok in a team fight.
Yeah, can be really really insane setup if done properly. Which, like I said, they had that one time and I just can't find it. And I'm not gonna keep clicking through. We'll just take forever trying to find a clip. It's out
Yeah.
there somewhere if you want to watch it. It's on the YouTube, so give it a watch. Um, but yeah, we can jump into game two here. Game two, this one was rather interesting. As I was kind of surprised to see some of the picks that we got. Um, we saw Garen coming out again. Haven't seen Garen in a while. But also the Fizz. And let me say, Fizz has not looked like a champion that should be played it right now until I saw this Fizz. This Fizz should be played right now. And this guy got a lead early, and it just snowballed the game. Like anybody he touched after like 10 minutes just was popping. Even this Mundo was actually kind of squishy when the Fizz showed up. It just seemed weird. It like dude was maximizing his damage or something. But also a Zyra support was another one I was intrigued by. Well, you don't see that a lot either anymore. And I don't know if I really like it here. What's your kind of opinions of the Zyra?
Um, I think the Zyra has spots. I in support probably doesn't get the resources she needed compared to like jungle Zyra, but I think Zyra actually can play a role as like a counter engage champ or a zone control champ if you can, lay down the plants and get like really good setup. I know what was it, Flame Dog and Splits in the past always was a proponent to Zyra, and he would just dare you to just walk into him. Especially when like Otacon became a thing, that later that split. So I think Zyra has a spot. Like Zyra Ashe is a known legendary duo, but I just don't think it's as prominent as it once was. And to say something like an Ezreal Karma. where you're just kind of gonna get poked a little bit. But dude, this
Yeah,
Fizz was picked in like an insane spot.
yeah. I mean, and poor Garen, by the way, I think he got dove twice. In the early game, one time was at like 620. Might have been a
Mhm.
time before that. But yeah, they were just they were picking on everybody. Fizz was just moving on the map. He wasn't like trying to focus on the farm. He was just focused on get the team ahead, get myself ahead, and we win the game. It was a really smart strat. But he also kept up in CS while doing that, which is even more insane. So yeah, hats off to Nami's on this Fizz game, man. I don't really have much more to say about it than that because I think this game was over pretty quickly. Probably around the 12-minute mark or so, like they already had a huge lead, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I mean it was already what 5K, 6K here. Like you're not gonna be able to come back in a game like that when you're this far behind. And Iman no slouch at all as well. Had himself a really nice Ezreal game, but I do think Fizz was the true show here in this game too.
Yeah, yeah. I know. There's been some discussion in the chat from the Fizz enjoyers of how they're not exactly a fan of the state of Fizz, but I mean, if you pick it in the right spot, this champion still snowballs. Does really well into things that don't build Roa or uh, things that have like double burn builds where they can't get into anything defensive quickly.
Yeah,
I think Fizz is really good there.
I would definitely agree on that. But yeah, I mean, with that said, I mean, hey, hats off to UAFS. They found their victory here, found themselves in a really nice spot for them to lock up the 3 seed of the group. And on Sunday, that's what they did. And we can kind of jump into that series a little bit here. Now, here's the caveat here, man. And so I don't want to spend as actually much time on this series because I do think it kind of collapsed pretty quickly. But me and Clt, we were playing, subbing
Or they
in.
called in the reserves.
Yeah, we were just the straight up reserves. We had 4 out of 5 members for fun subbed out. So um, it's really hard to say the result. These teams were supposed to play in week 5 and didn't, and then you get this situation. So it's kind of a feels bad moment, especially for funds side of things. But we did try. We tried our best, but it's not like we all have all this synergy together, and so really just couldn't get much set up. Uh, we had some small little spots that looked okay early on, but eventually, and when I say eventually, pretty quickly to be honest, uh, UAFS found their angles and got their lead. So
Especially in
um,
this game one.
yeah.
Yeah. Does either one of us really want to talk about this?
Oh, I'm talking about it. I mean, we just did this. We just did.
Uh,
I should have went to freaking ignite, man. I should just
yeah.
went ignite. It said screw lane or out of lane.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, no. I mean, it's not much. It's not like it's that bad to talk about. We're both subbing uh, in a situation that we kind of did off the cuff. Don't practice, no one like that. I'm not really bothered by the outcome. So it's
You're off
those,
roll.
yeah, no skin off my back here. Um, so I just trying to help out the boy basically. But I do think UAFS are a very solid team, and they earned their victory here and their way into the playoffs. But what's your kind of take? I mean, I knew you were playing mid lane against Namis. How did you feel about the matchup into him?
I mean, Nami's is really good. Uh, he plays the lanes like really super aggressive, is what I gathered like very early on, and he's definitely very comfortable in the Zed pick. So, Lissandra's kind of always been my answer to Zed when he's not banned. But yeah, I just didn't. I let the kind of the early levels get away from me there. It was still a matchup I haven't played in a while, so I gave him a little too much respect level 1 and 2, and he punished me for it. I got solo killed, and he started to really snowball the game when you give lethality assassins, especially someone like Zed who doesn't have dashes, he just has straight blinks. Uh, Access to the really cheap assassin items, he can snowball really quickly. I don't think we had, outside of myself, enough CC drafted into this comp, but I mean it's still respectable amount. You've got Varus, ults, Lissandra. Frozen can kind of knock them up and delay it a little bit. So, yeah, this game just kind of got out of hand real quick. Overall,
Yeah, and we were not on the same page as a team, and it was it was pretty evident when if you
I
were
don't think
watching it.
anybody was on the same
Yeah.
page.
So, and that's
It was
that's that's just a bunch of guys
you need.
basically playing solo queue at that point. So that's why I don't think there's that much to say about it. But yeah, I mean, Nami's had a really nice head game. I will say that Iman played really well on the Kaisa, but you know, we'll definitely we'll get you back one day, guys, when we're not in that situation. Game two, again, I won't dive too much into it. I will say we
Oh, we're gonna have some fun with this game
yeah
too.
we definitely tried to send it out here. I know I said I'm going J for support and just gonna fight, man.
Yep.
Um, Early on in the game, found a really nice play I think onto Iman, but unfortunately we just didn't have the damage to kill. I know it was like a nice little flash and drag play, but we weren't able to get much more out of it. I do think if Kazulon is more comfortable, we could totally 1v or 2v3 that. I think if he just kept fighting forward, he can space pretty well there. But
Yeah.
I know that um, definitely he wasn't comfortable with my play style and also wasn't probably comfortable with fighting forward there. But that's something that could have broke the game, but it was really nice gank there by Turtle. And then after that, I feel like the game just turned into an absolute slobberknacker, just back and forth, shooting shots, and both teams just having a lot of fun. I guess is the best way to describe it. So
Well, I think your quote like at the end of this draft is let's make this into a solo queue game, and we did a pretty good job at doing that.
yeah, well, I figured like we're not gonna beat them straight up. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's not because they're just all individually better players than everybody. It's more they're a team. Even with a few subs, they're still a team compared to us with 4 subs. You know, like how I mean I don't know, man. What is our synergies? How often have we all played together? Probably not that much. So
No.
yeah, it's much more difficult. So I will say the second Nami's on the top side playing this Viego. Man, once he got strong though, man, the game was so freaking hard because he was just like tanky, got all these resets, and then Kitten on this Fizz was just one shotting people. So that was pretty obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really taken aback by this Urgot mid because I thought like I could outspace it. And I actually talked to another mid after this game and they were like, "Couldn't you space this Urgot more?" I'm like, "Actually no, the range is pretty comparable." So I was kind of new to like facing this Urgot mid, especially with Ari, but we had some really solid Ari Vi plays going on with Frozen. And then Smalls was just demossing it up a little bit there in the mid game, so had a lot of fun. I will say this was one to send off with for sure.
Yeah, and we gave Frozen at least a chance by playing. It would have been a
Mhm.
no playing. So Frozen's chance was we play, and that was about as far as we got to a chance
Yeah,
and making playoffs
yeah.
for fun. But hey, man, I'm happy I got to help out and try our best. But
hmm
again,
Got to help out one of the
congratulations.
homies here.
Yeah, congratulations to the UAFS. We'll see you guys this week against Vancouver. So let's see what you guys have in the
We'll
tank.
talk about
Yeah, we will be shortly. But let's go ahead and jump into the other group here, and the last group, which was Group C. And the first game was played between Scorch and Froggy Style, which was probably, I will say this, it was the best actual series, in my opinion. And then I think if you want to say that Femboys and Extinct was the best game of the tiebreaker week, this was the best series, in my opinion.
that.
Really,
I can get behind that. Yeah.
really banger series between these two teams. Um, and once again, though, unfortunately for Scorch, they're going to find themselves uh, on the losing side of things. But man, what a back and forth it was. So we jump off here with this game one, and this game one really cleanly played by Scorch. Mustafa was kind of hitting like a truck with this Yumi, which we haven't seen a lot of Yumi here, but there was a lot of Enchanters played this week. Seems like Enchanters might be coming back a bit into the meta. What is your kind of take on Yumi while we let some of this play out here?
Uh, I think if you feel like you have the better bot lane or a bot lane that can put themselves in a position to win, like get ahead early, Yumi just amplifies that. Like I think compared to other enchanters, Sona, Soraka, Milio, any of the others, Lulu, like Yumi to me is like a +2, +3 to just you winning, just because of how she can buff specifically the 80 carries, but she's really great. If you see the rest of this comp, she can help Boonstra dive in with the Vex. Ares can play off the Yumi really well with Cassante as well. So like I think the comp they actually built around with Yumi is really, really smart by Scorch, and that's actually one thing I've always respected about the squad is they can get really creative. I could see sometimes them overcooking a little bit, but they always seem like they draft with a purpose. So uh, I really do like Yumi here, and I think she is a little slept on. We've seen Femboys bring out like Yumi Sivir. I think week 5 versus Instinct, which is another one where it's just like you can't stop this ADC from scaling, and then Yumi's just like, okay, I'm gonna amplify all the scaling that they can't stop anyway. So I think it's slept on, but I think it just takes a very specific setup for Yumi to really like shine.
Yeah, but I mean, she got the setup here in this game, right? The Yumi champion did pretty well.
Also, you need a support player that's willing to degen enough to play Yumi. No offense, Calico.
Well, there it is, Calico. You've degened.
Ah, yeah, but yeah, this game, I think I do remember catching a little bit of this game live. Um,
Yeah, it was a intense game when I think I was like half invested in the in game one. Like I was doing a few other things, and I just remember like Mustafa just basically being unkillable, and then um, that was pretty much it. Like that was just like okay, it's Tristana carry, Tristana do things, Tristana smack like a truck, Tristana OP. That was this video, this game. Every time they tried to find an angle, they tried to find something here on the side of Froggy Style, it just never ended in anything good for them, to be honest. Um, but yeah, they even find a nice little alt, but Mikhail's coming out of Yumi, and then this is at 35 minutes, like towards the end of the game. And now what do? You don't have a Sejuani ult. Your big engage is gone. If you step up, you die. Guess what? Banasor steps up. He's forced to flash away, and that's just kind of the what kept happening. So it was definitely one of those situations where try as they might, they just did not have an answer to get through all this damage and healing and shielding coming out of the side of Scorch. But yeah, I think this game does end at this fight after Soul, which by the way, it's 4 Ocean Drakes, which kind of helps with the healing.
yeah, 4 Ocean Drakes on top of Yumi. Like, good luck.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
Absolutely
walk it down the
good.
base. I think Ares was the only casualty. I'm pretty sure at this point they just walk it on the base. But yeah, I think it's a very decisive victory here out of Scorch here in game one. Even though I do think it was still intense, it was close. It was more close because they were able to acquire some turrets and get some drakes early to stall out the game on the side of Froggy Style. But they were always getting outscaled, and once that happened, it was just like, all right, good luck trying to play the game.
Yeah. I mean, not that I I think this is gonna be like game breaking or anything, but I'm already seeing kind of an ascending fight. You're 4 Ocean Drakes deep, and only one person has anti-healing. It feels bad. I don't think you're ever gonna out heal 4 Ocean plus Ocean Soul, but if you see that they're on the third Ocean, it's probably just time to start dipping into at least a component with anti-heal on it.
Yeah, I think it's the correct decision for sure. I don't think anti heal is as strong as it used to be, so it's not going to be as
Agreed. Yeah.
impactful. But if you want any chance at winning, you're just forced to do so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might as well just say you're sacking the game. So
It makes a losing position slightly less losing
hey,
in a sense of
I
Ocean
gotta
Soul.
call out Hook here by the way. I just jumped in the game too, and Brandon and Rusty were dancing in the mid lane together, and Hook came and attacked him. That's not cool, bro. That's not cool. I might have to have a word with that guy later. That's crazy.
Wait, I mean, bro, this is for playoffs. Come on, man.
Hey, but if the brothers are gonna dance together, I feel like you have to honor that.
I mean, I guess. I just don't. They kind of got back because Hero they forced Hero having the back here. Well, Hero didn't burn subs summoners, so Calico did. So I guess all in all, yeah, it's probably a little bit of a win for
Yeah,
Scorch off that level one,
kind of
but
hard for Pantheon to really do much in this lane. I feel like early on, but Hook ends up Hook ends up being all over this map on this Pantheon.
yeah, he played the Pantheon exactly how you should be playing it.
Yeah,
Also, just
Rome.
echo another kill top by Ares. I think he's the only one ever playing this, by the way.
Yeah, and I remember, dude, this was something I definitely said. I remember saying on stream, like, what does the Kale do here? Like, why are we picking Kale here? I did not like it, and really confused at the angle. I mean, do you have a take on how it fits in here?
I mean, I got nothing but love and respect for Ares, and I've even played some games with the Scorch guys. He definitely loves his kill pick, and I think this is more of like his way of skill checking. But I think into Aatrox, if you have a very comparable Aatrox, he can play into ranged opponents quite well. Uh, I'd be surprised if like Fuse, as talented as he is, might have didn't put a lot of pressure on Ares in this early to mid game. But I just think with the Echo, with Hook being able to dive the backline, Hero just kind of popping the ult, I feel like there's too much getting thrown at the Kale that she can time the ult really well. I do see a world where Kale gets the like late game and can push his Aatrox back, so I do see a world of that. And Booster has a really solid wave clear mage. Mustafa has Sivir. So even if they get behind, like their comp is very, very cohesive. Even Kale supporting Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao absolutely loves enchanters. But I just feel like if this Froggy style comp gets off the ground or gets like a really proper team fight, they can really run over the Scorch's comp because they don't have like a true front line. Even if like they play through Rusty, if Rusty gets ulted away by Poppy, then your whole backline's exposed and you're like, oh shit, what do I do now? I didn't see much of this game, so I couldn't tell you if that's how it went down, but I can see how these comps interact with each other, and Scorch could definitely have some issues dealing with it.
Yeah, they definitely didn't have much of an answer, in my opinion, on the actual like power that this mid game was gonna bring between the Pantheon, Poppy, Aatrox, and really, I mean, let's be honest, the whole team. Like, really, a lot of the power, they're spiking on one to two items here on Froggy, and that's kind of scary. And Echo is just a stinky champion. Stinky. That guy likes to
He hit.
snowball, and he actually didn't snowball that
Yeah.
hard early on. So they kind of were dealing with the Echo pretty fine. But I mean, he started playing off the back of everybody else and just started getting kills. And once Echo gets fed, man, good luck.
Yeah, Echo's so deceiving on how much of a late game champion he can be. Like he just needs time to ramp up, more time than other late game like mages like a Syndra. Like she'll spike before him, but man, if you let this Echo get to like two items and the arrow's pointing up, like he's starting to snowball, bro, this champion can be obnoxious.
Yeah, I agree he scales pretty well, but I do think that he does spike at like an item and a half. Like he just straight up starts to spike there, um, and that's a lot because he's so snowbally. Like I think, and when I see him in the jungle, I always say he's one of the most snowbally jungles in the game. Like he's up there with stuff like Evelyn. If you give this
Mhm.
guy like any gold man or even a Talon, you know, and he's being played mid here, but that's just how I look at him. I see him mostly jungle, so I don't know. Just a dumb champ, man. Get it off my screen. That's how I feel sometimes with it.
Yeah.
Gotta play the counters into it. But yeah, Froggy really just they took care of business and they were able to lock up this game. This game two, kind of like game one, it was kind of deceivingly close for a bit, but realistically, uh, once Soul was acquired, there was really almost no chance that Scorch had to pull this game off, which is a pretty unfortunate. So, well played here though by Froggy, and we can go ahead and jump into the final game and the last of not the last. I'm sorry, the last of the series, but not the last of the group. So, what do you think about these comps here to end the series?
Let me go over to the draft. Uh, Boy, Froggy style bringing out some interesting here. Is that first Cled to split? Maybe second.
Not the first Cled. I could have sworn that.
Rurika played Cled mid.
Yeah, yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the
Well,
Cled is not having a good time this game, by the way. Like Fuse didn't really do much on the Cled. Um, he's kind of held in check, but luckily his team was just kind of popping off. Jinx again, showing why she's kind of rising in the ranks as one of the more dominant AD carries once again. Um, so I'm really not that surprised to see a Jinx Cup win. Aphelios, man, Aphelios feels like Smolder, bro. Like we pick these champions and they just, I don't know what it is. They just can't get much off the ground a lot of times. Like maybe they could pick up a win here or there, but I don't know, man. They don't seem very powerful.
what?
In fact, I'd actually argue Smolder right now might actually kind of be strong again. Like, but
I think
Aphelios for two splits, I have not really liked where he's been.
I think Aphelios, like I think he's really great in the comps that just like want to run at you, but it's very easy to just draft some like dive plus knockdown. Like if we look at Banana Source, Zac here, or even if you like Theorycraft Elvi or something, like this champions really shut down what Aphelios wants to do unless you build like this brick wall in front of him. And I'm looking at Scorch's comp, and I don't know if the brick wall is enough. Just because even if Mordekaiser gets off the ground, I mean, I already see Mordekaiser has a kill here at 4.5 minutes. If Ares gets off the ground and is like kind of this raid boss pushing the team comp back, once Mordekaiser presses R, he's no longer a raid boss that you have to deal with. Like he's just in the death realm. Yeah, you lose a teammate, but now you're opening up to Jinx moving forward, Leona moving forward, Zac diving in, even playing a little bit of zone control with Veigar. It's I love the comp on paper, but overall, I think it's you have to play it really, really well, and I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this Maokai jungle here. I love Rusty to death, but um, mm, Maokai just hasn't found success that much to split.
Yeah, definitely has not. I think the biggest takeaway I have from this game is Vigar in the right spots. Very good champion. Because
Agreed.
holy moly, that Vigar was doing so much work. But Barisha King, he went absolutely off in this game. Like once he got strong, he was basically two tapping Mordekaiser, man. It didn't seem right. Pretty broken.
And Mordekaiser's actually like really solid in the Veigar, but this kind of late game Seraph's Roa, I just feel like Mordekaiser doesn't bring enough damage, and Veigar's not specking into enough AP that it like counteracts.
Yeah,
Because like
and
Mordekaiser takes Veigar, kills Veigar, and then Mordekaiser gets 400 AP worth of stats. Then all of a sudden he can carry a team fight, but it's just doesn't work that way when you go Roa Seraphs.
yeah, unfortunately it does not. But yeah, congratulations again to them picking up the victory and Froggy Style finding themselves almost guaranteed playoffs at this point when they won. But with that said, we can jump into the final tiebreaker real quick here, which is going to be Scorch versus Impact Challengers. And this one definitely was going to decide a lot. If Scorch lost, they were out, and that means your 2 and 3 seed, however that was going to break down, was going to be Froggy Style and Impact Challengers. And well, Scorch ended up losing, unfortunately so. And did you catch any of this one, Clt?
I did. I casted this one actually.
Hmm. Did we cast this one together? Actually, is that what happened?
Actually, I think we I think you casted game one.
Yes, I
Um,
casted game one with
and
you.
then you had the dip.
Yeah.
You got ganked by real life
Yes, I got game
game
Bro.
two.
Yeah, because
So,
this was that Mundo that just was so
bro,
formidable.
bro, Churros on this Mundo went ape shit this game. It was quite insane. And actually, we're talking about Boonstra on this Scion mid.
Yeah,
It's like this is such a sleeper mid pick, but the problem is you're donating all of laning phase over to the other mid. So if they play scalers, like a Mundo, Rise, Asol, Vagar, it's just nothing Scion can do.
yeah.
So
They were trading back and forth a lot and kind of both doing just fine to each other, but um, that didn't matter because Mundo found a lead off a couple ganks and then just started smacking the turret. I think he got four
mhm.
plates himself in the mid lane, which is crazy for like a melee champion to get four plates in the mid lane. I just like, what the hell is happening here? But I guess if it's melee versus melee, it doesn't really matter too much. How
Yeah,
how'd you feel about Rise top two, by the way? I think that was another interesting
I
pick this
I
week.
felt like this was kind of clever by Impact Challengers. They know that Ares is going to be the one top laner to bring out like a Vlad Rise. I mean, we've seen him pull out some weird, wacky AP picks from seasons past. So I thought like the lane swap into Rise, MLAC going top was really clever, and the Rise pick in general with Vlad showing fairly early in the draft. Yeah, Vlad was B2. I thought it was a really solid answer. It's like they kind of trap carded Scorch here in the draft. And even though Ares had some really nice trades and got MLAC to burn some summoners early in the laning phase, like they just ultimately this was like the ultimate. You got two tanks, two scaling mages. Let's see where we're at 25 minutes, and let's brawl. And I just feel like Impact got the better of that laning phase to get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, actually, if I remember correctly, Ares was actually getting decently strong, even though like he, it wasn't really that the Mac
Yeah.
got the better of it. I think it was more just the team. Uh, they played around the Rise really well, even when the Rise was kind of behind a bit. Um, and they dealt with this kind of decently fed Vlad. Like there was one really nice fight where Ares was able to pop. Maybe not pop anybody, but I know he like pushed everybody out. Did tons of damage. Like I know Stunner was really low. Maybe he killed Pixelated Pizza. But the flashes kept the Jinx alive, and then like they still found a way to kind of win the fight. I think on the side of um, Vancouver, if I remember correctly. I have to find a fight. It was like a Drake fight or something like that. But
Hmm.
yeah, Ares was doing pretty okay on the pick top side. Vested Crow was helping him out, getting him fed a bit. Uh, it just felt like every counter punch that, or every punch, I should say, every punch that scorched through, there was a counter by Vancouver somewhere else on the map, which is really like the proper way of playing League of Legends, right? You want to do something on the opposite side of the map if something's happening on the other side of the map. So they were throwing good punches back and forth. But again, you just see this just Jinx pick. I'm telling you, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Jinx gets heavy priority throughout the playoffs. Like she seems really strong, along with Tristana. So wouldn't be too surprised to see those 280 carries really rising in the ranks here.
Yeah, agreed. I do want to point out like MLAC going um third item anti-heal. I think was really clutch playing into Ares, especially in the split. So, uh, really heads up. I think people sometimes just get anti-heal just a little too late to where I feel like it can be pretty useful early enough. So, and plus like the anti-heal onto Scion's Unending Despair. It's not like the sole reason you want to buy it, but it also does help quite a bit.
Yeah, but yeah, in the game ended there. It was like 20, basically 27 minutes or so. They found a pick there on a Mustafa, a really nice zap coming out of Stunner. Calico was next up on the chopping block, picked her off, and then from there, I mean, that was it. I just kind of walked it down with the Baron buff. There wasn't much that could wave clear. I mean, your best bet was maybe Vlad, but I don't know if Vlad has the best wave clear in the Baron buff.
No, absolutely not at all.
Yeah. So there wasn't much to be done. They just said, "Oh, basically three melee champions. Have fun trying to deal with all this range."
Yeah, yeah, and we can't go without talking about 25 minutes here watching Shiro's just wild goose chase all of Scorch down this top lane.
Oh yeah, they were chasing him around the map, right?
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah,
forgot.
cue up circus music.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Was that at the
That's
Baron?
what led to,
That was what led to the Baron.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
He was like killing them too. Didn't he like 1v2 like multiple times in this game? Like
Yeah.
this, and actually, in fact, wasn't this play the play before that the 1v2? I want to say like this dude's just
It might have been right before that. Yeah.
bro, freaking
Uh,
Mundo, dude.
yeah.
Just be a menace, be annoying. Well,
Oh, he does that quite well.
he
Almost too
does.
well.
But let's jump into the last game here, and then we can get into our kind of our breakdown of the matches for playoffs. So, yeah, what is your take here from game two? Because I did not get to watch it.
Game two, we seen Scorch come out with again the Yumi Tristana combo that they used against Froggy Style that went really well in this game two. But again, I feel like uh, Impact Challengers had really good answers in the draft. We seen Stunner pick this Ashe and overall just played like a more utility based game because MLAC on this Lux mid was just absolutely poking Boonstra to death here. But I gotta give again, Chiros just had a really good series here. Picks the Mordekaiser and the Gwen. If I remember correctly, I think had a solo killer too. But then Ares kind of fought back here on Gwen's power spike. So these two top laners were brawling. But Mordekaiser into Yumi plus anything just feels like absolute hell for the Yumi player. Because with all this fighting top lane, he got far enough ahead that when he would ult Mustafa, they were so coordinated enough he would ult Mustafa into Brazil, and then Yumi's just sitting there like, what do I do? And insta dies. So she couldn't even really affect much of a team fight here in the mid to late game.
Yeah, she
And
couldn't
that's
hop
kind of where
hop
this
off and hop on somebody quick enough.
they were so quick to pull the trigger when Yumi got taken off by Mordekaiser. Like it was a well coordinated strategy here by Impact Challengers this game two. Because we've seen a lot of that. When Shira started to kind of lose the split because Gwen would just outscale, then you would see him group more, just flash ult Mustafa, and they would just dogpile onto the Yumi afterwards.
Yeah, I remember a solo queue game just randomly enough where I remember telling a guy like, "Listen, Mord, I know what you want to do. Just alt here so you can get the Yumi off." And I think it was like I want to say a Sivir or something. So he's like, "Yeah, but then like the spell shield," and I was like, "Trust me, it's fine. It'll work."
Yeah,
And he finally did it a couple times. We won a couple fights, bro. I was like, I'm telling you, man, you just gotta get this darn freaking Yumi off people, so we could win the fight. But yeah, Yumi is
yep.
obnoxious, and Mordekaiser certainly is the answer there. So as far as the overall compassing of the game, um, but yeah, what would you say like the breaking point, or you want to give me like how the game ended, or any of that nature for the fans?
Um, I mean, how? Let me kind of get to the point. I think it was like a flash ult by Chiros that started a mid lane fight, and then they dogpiled on Calico, killed her, and then I actually don't think Mustafa in a lot of these times he was getting ulted really fought back. Like I think Shiros was winning the 1v1 in the Death Realm. Um, but I see a fight here 32 minutes where like Mustafa and the bot lane started to pop off. So let me go a little further. We see them getting soul here and then picking off Ares in the bot lane and they turn this so Elder wasn't up.
Okay, I think I
No,
found
they
it.
then
34
yeah,
minutes.
yeah, I'm around that same spot too, yeah. Where after they killed Ares, they just dove Mustafa under a turret and Shiros ulted. They got rid of the The
Yeah.
Tristana. I'm sorry, I blanked on the name there for a second.
Yeah, it's Tristana, not Yumi. Don't worry. I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got rid of both though. They took care of business. But yeah, it was
yeah,
he did find that angle, and like you said, I see it there. The moment that Tristana got ulted, they just threw the Lux Q, landed on the Yumi. Yumi
yeah.
just disappeared like that. But hey,
I want to say they were so coordinated enough. I think I remember one mid lane team fight where he flash ulted after, like right when Lux was throwing an E. So then the moment Yumi fell off, it was met with a Lux E. Like they preemptively like
timed it.
started that combo up, yeah, and timed it.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's enough of us jibber jabbering about these tiebreakers. But congratulations again to both of Froggy Style and Vancouver Impact Challengers. There's no second game here, or I guess it'll be third series. I mean, there's no third series
yeah.
here because Scorch. I'm sorry, Froggy decided to forfeit the game against Vancouver and just accept the third seed. So we don't got nothing to talk about there. But what we do have to talk about is some series. So let me go ahead and jump over there real quick. Um, let's see. Let me switch this over. I also would like to bring in a friend of certainly the show and the league. He is the current jungler for Team Coin Flip, Mr. Brandino. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Of course, my friend. Let's start off with this. How you feeling, man? Are you feeling good?
I'm doing great. I'm ready for playoffs. I'm glad I get to play week one. Last time we skipped week one. For me, that means less League of Legends. This time it means more League of Legends.
Okay, so that sounds like
I've
you're excited for games then.
That's right. I get to
I've
play
never
earlier.
I've never met anybody so excited to play this game or more than Brandino. He just loves this.
He's like he's like a kid at the candy store. You say Snickers bar, he's like, ooh, yes.
I mean, it's true. It's true.
Look,
Yeah.
I love flipping coins. I'm addicted to Gamba.
Yes.
So flip the coin every game, many times.
Ah, we got to the root of it.
Yes. Solved it. Well,
Sounds like he loves Brawl then.
probably.
That was fun. I like Brawl.
No shocker there.
Well, we can dive into this then. We've got a match between ourselves here coming up, and that's for anyone wondering, Small Brain No Mechanics versus Coin Flip. That's going to be played on Sunday, the first. So be there, be square. It won't be the first one of the week, but it will be. It'll probably just end up being one of the last, if I had to guess.
Yeah,
Um,
it's on the last day.
yeah, more than likely be one of the
Sunday.
last. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But go ahead and I want to hear from you. Like, what's your kind of take on this series? What excites you? What is the like a key matchup for you maybe, or is there something you're looking forward to here against Small Brains?
Um, so last split we never got to play against Small Brain. And I just like hear about this team. And then this split again, never a chance. And I think it's a kind of difference in style. Like Small Brain is going to draft stuff that like our other comps, like our group, I feel like drafted a lot of like early skirmish, much more so than I expected. And then there was the occasional like Exodia comp, and there was nothing really in between. And then I've looked over some of your guys' drafts, and it feels like you guys kind of reach somewhere in the middle for all this stuff. Like you have some team fight, you have some late game scaling, and I just like I'm down to see the difference in style. I have to study it some more to kind of figure out where the weak points are and all that stuff. But ultimately, I'm just happy to fight someone outside of our group and see what's going on, who's been cooking what for the past 5 weeks.
Yeah, I can definitely agree on that. I do think, and I'm gonna kind of give my take on the two teams here. I from watching you guys play and from being a part of my own games, I do actually think we match up pretty like evenly. You guys do cook a little more in the draft, I would say, but I think when you look at like the how the games run through, it's pretty similar. I do think it kind of runs through jungle mid AD for both teams. However you want to script that, whoever you want to say is that like takes lead or takes charge, but I do feel like that's how it kind of it structures out, where our top laners kind of just chill out an island a lot of times. We will gank for them, but sometimes we're like, okay, top lane, have fun. We're not really played through our top lanes teams. And then, of course, both supports are very, very good. We know that GeoProw has a lot of different unique picks, like the Elise, for example, when he's probably made famous here in the Midwest server at this point. And then Fid's got some of his, which I would actually say are unique too. You don't see a ton of a Mumu or Maokai support out of really anybody, but pretty much Fid. So um, it's definitely two supports that can play make, find opportunities. So I do think the teams match up extremely well. Would you kind of agree on that take, Brandino?
Yeah, I agree. I think that outside of a notable Ivern game from our top laner, mostly he does like to keep to, his CS goals, his, relative usefulness in later game team fights. And so, yeah, mostly top lane is quiet. I agree for both sides of this. I think a lot of the action will get determined on mid jungle skirmish priority, or some other shenanigans that happen. But that's my expectation is yeah, it's going to be some form of mid jungle skirmish priority, top lane quietness, and I don't know what the heck's going to go on bot lane. Y'all play some stuff. It seems to be a lot of like AP tank engagers, but you mix it up with people who are heavy fighters or like just heavy backliners. So I guess we'll see what the draft brings that day, but I do expect that mostly it'll be mid jungle.
All right, cool. Well, I hope that it's what turns out to be true because I would love to one of us to be the shining light of our teams and battle it out. CLT, I mean, can kind of give us your take here, and if you disagree and kind of what we're saying, or what your kind of view of this matchup is.
I don't disagree with either one of you two. When the bracket was made, I felt like this series was uh, being played almost too early, not to insult the rest of the teams, because like you two legacy, not legacy teams, like Small Brains has been in obviously for a long time, but we've seen Coin Flip last year and this year, just absolutely love the brawl, and I feel like it's kind of close up and down the board. The only thing I think is going to be interesting in the matchup overall, not to like say this because you two are here, but is the mid jungle. I think the mid for Coin Flip Krieger, who I have the utmost respect for, he plays a lot of just really solid, stable champions, and he never gets himself in trouble. To where I think Zenma can create a lot of opportunities. He can play aggressive champions when he wants to. He really does roam around a lot with Hairwick and makes plays around the map. So outside of like the draft and seeing who gets the better part of the draft, I'm really, really excited to see this mid jungle duo match up against each other because bot lane's gonna fight. Fidsticks loves to fight. Geo Prow, we obviously know he loves to start shit up and fight as well. But I think the the storyline coming out of the series is probably going to be the mid jungle. Um, and I have the utmost respect to both mid jungles. I've played against Zemma and Krieger, and they're both fantastic mids.
All right, so Brandino, what I'm hearing is we should just handshake it. It should be me against you, and Zemma versus Krieger, and then let the rest of the map do whatever the hell they want to do, because they're just gonna fight anyways, right? They're just gonna do dumb stuff. So we'll just let them do that. That's what CLT is basically saying.
I mean, I think there's a world where the top laners like have the little ceasefire and they're okay to play. Tanks are just overall like Brandino noted to hit their CS numbers and be happy with putting themselves in a position to fight in the mid game. Bot lane could be a coin flip, it could be not, but yeah, this mid jungle, I'm super excited to see it.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion here that mid jungle is definitely going to be the thing here. If you want, we can just call it just Dr. Mundo mirror matchup, Baron Pit. Throw fuse only, see who wins that, call it from there. Flip a coin effectively.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, the mid jungle matchup is what I think decides this series, and I think honestly, like your team is in Small Brain is much more weighted towards that than some other teams. But ultimately, I feel like mid jungle dominates competitive in a lot of scenarios where you don't have a blowout in one of the side lanes and someone just gets smashed. Mid jungle determines all of the early and mid game scenarios that go before you do lane assignments. So it's ultimately, every game is played that way. Whether or not the top laner can come down and affect that mid jungle priority because they came to a fight a few seconds early will change some things, but mid jungle is honestly the backbone of most. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think though we have to get down to the most important part of the segment here, and I think we're gonna have to pick. So here's what I will say. I feel like because I set the president last split of doing these predictions, I will make a pick. Brandino, you're not forced to make a pick because we already know what you're gonna pick anyways. But what we're we already know you're gonna pick your team, obviously. But I will say this. I'm going to say this series is actually a pick 'em. It's a 50-50 split. I don't have, and I'm not even saying that with because Brandino is here and I'm afraid to pick against them. No, I just truly think teams are evenly matched. So that's kind of my take. And whether people like it or not, I mean, hey, you want me to start stuff with Brandino next time? Tell me. I guess I'll go hard. But I do think that's where it lies for me. CLT, do you what do you kind of feel?
Oh, oh man. I think based on what I see on paper, I think I first of all I agree it's a 50-50 pick 'em. I think outside of mid jungle, I think a lot of the direction of mid jungle is going to be slated in the draft. Whoever can get the better part of the draft, because I think both of you teams can draft very, very well. I think CoinFlip does they create draft advantages with their creativity in the draft, and I feel like Small Brains, while they kind of, I don't want to say like lock down their champion pools, they definitely like play a small subset of champions very well, and they have like 3 to 4 different comps that they go to. Um, but ultimately, I think the diversity in the mid lane is kind of what leads me to think it's going to be Small Brains 51-49. But ultimately, it's going to be whoever shows up and plays better that day. It would not. I think this series is guaranteed to go to 3 games. Like I would be shocked if it doesn't. But I think Zenma has shown a little more diversity in the champ pool and the play style than Krieger, but I also know like Krieger can play a lot of other things. He just has a really, really solid comfort zone that he likes to play with. And honestly, Coin Flip doesn't make him have to play the subset of champions that like sometimes Zenma can play. Like the Akali and the Aurora stand out for Zenma for me. Um, So I'm 51% on small brains there, but I think this is a banger either way you go at it.
Okay. Well, Brandino, if you want to give
Sorry.
an estimate, you can. I mean, either way, I already know you're picking your team, but you know what I mean. If you want to say it's a 50-50 split like me, go ahead. If you want to give you guys 60-40, go ahead. I'll let you do whatever.
Look, I'm respectful post game, but I'm not that type of person pre game. And we are pre game right now, good sir. So that
Let's
means,
go.
as captain and jungler of Coin Flip, you are crazy to put this anywhere other than a 99.9 repeating 1,000 times % chance for Coin Flip. Now, I can't control the weather. I can't control nature. So if my entire team's computers all blow up at the same time, you might have a chance. But
Oh,
Okay.
damn.
other than that, good sir, I will see you next split because I'm taking you out this one.
Okay.
Ooh, I
Well,
love it.
we'll take that. I'll save my remarks for the chat around Saturday or Sunday. I got something for you. Don't worry. But but yeah, man.
Well,
You're more than welcome to stay. I will say we are going to continue to talk about the rest of the predictions. We do have another guest that actually just joined. But yeah, Brendan, no, thank you for coming on either way. If you want to stay, feel free to hang out for the next probably about 20 minutes. We're not going to be very long. It's up to you. You can give your takes then if you'd like. If not, you're welcome to leave. All up to you.
Yeah, I'm
So
down to stay throughout the predictions. I have a few pointers. I'm not educated on every matchup, but there are a few different parts of the bracket that I'll discuss when we get there. Are we only talking about week one brackets, or is there going to be a prediction for everything? Because I have a kind of interesting idea of how this will go. I think.
no, we're just going to talk about week one. But I will say
Okay.
if you want to do that, feel free to drop it somewhere in the rec league chat for fun. Then go ahead,
Yeah.
tell everybody your predictions. See how they feel about it. But yeah, we're gonna just talk about week one for now. So with that said,
Sounds good.
I'm gonna go ahead and bring in our other guest here. We have the support of Froggy Style here with us, Mr. Hook. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course, my friend. And you have an exciting matchup coming up yourself. Um, let's start out with this. What do you know about Vibe Check? What is your kind of information on this team?
I mean, to be honest, we were in different divisions, so we don't really know too much about them. We've been going over their games and stuff, obviously, but I know they're supposed to be playing with 3 subs, so it does make it a little more difficult.
Oh, they're gonna be 3 sub on Thursday, huh?
Well, I think one's a 6 man, and then they have 2 subs.
Ooh, that changes the question. Yeah, I didn't know this information. So now you might even change my prediction up. Do you know by chance who's going to be subbing out for the team?
Um, I think their support and their AD carry and their top laner are all gonna get subbed.
Oh wow, so it's just gonna be Bori, and then
Bori and Victor Apple, I think.
are the only ones gonna be playing. That's gonna be interesting. Okay, well that that changes a lot for me. When it comes to predictions. Wow. Okay. How do you feel about that, CLT?
Um, that does change the conversation, but I guess for me it depends on who's they're bringing in, because we know through the last two splits that there's a group of about 8 to 10 of them that play together, and they've mixed up the last two splits. This is the only time where it's only been one of the teams. So if they bring someone in like Chengi, CC Star, Relentless, somebody that they've played with before, I don't think it's the biggest blow in the world.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious on who they bring in.
Yeah, I am too.
I mean, I do have an OP for them that they sent us, so.
Oh, sure. Do you...
I know they didn't tell us where they're going to be playing, but yeah, Relentless, who you mentioned, and then Changi, and then someone named Q, CAG, KSM, and some other letters.
I'm not sure who that is. The other two, very
Yeah.
familiar, but I'm not sure who the other one is there. Yeah, it could end up being Bori role swapping back to AD and Chengi going jungle. I mean, who knows what their plan is, but
All four of them could roll swap.
yeah, I guess they all
mid-series.
could. Yeah, well, they can't mid-series, but
Well, I'm just saying,
yeah.
that team has played every role.
Yeah, they really have. So here, I'm going to ask you this question then. Do you know that you're playing against the former back-to-back champs here, at least in terms of Bori? Bori's won the last two splits of Aloha Midwest. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea. No idea.
Well, there you go. You're going against a two-time champ and a two-time MVP. So finals MVP, that is. So
Man, that's gonna be fun to beat them.
all right.
Gonna take down a two-time MVP, two-time champ. That's gonna be good.
Yeah,
I
but
like
you
this
got
guy
your work
already.
cut out for you now. Then, seeing that you guys didn't know that. Yeah, I mean it's hard to always pick against Bori. I mean every time they get to playoffs, they just turn on and become something else entirely. But with that said, you don't really know. Like you said, you don't know much about the play. But from what you've seen on tape, how do you feel like your team matches up into them? At least from what you can kind of discern. Again, obviously you're gonna be dealing with subs, but I don't think the play should change too much.
Yeah, I don't think we're. I think it's honestly a pretty good matchup for us. I think their strongest player is their jungler, and then their mid laner is a very safe player. It seems like so. I don't know. I think we're just gonna play our game, and it seems like it'll go well for us, just off of like what we've seen.
Okay, I mean that's fair. I do think Victor at this point is playing pretty safe. He's not a natural mid laner. He cracks me up because the dude went from top to support to mid, all while being basically a jungle main at one point. So dude's just swapping around everywhere. But that's why you see these weird jungle picks from him, right? The Sejuani mid. I mean, he played the support rel mid, didn't he? I think like dude's been everywhere.
Yeah, it's like AP rel mid.
Yeah. I think he even solo killed in that game too. It's just absurd, man. What is real?
I believe that was against the Yasuo, which leads me to believe it's against Traxxas.
Yeah,
B.
it's ridiculous. What do you guys have
Mhm.
anything planned, knowing that you might go into these kind of weird picks in the mid?
I mean, I don't think we're too worried about weird picks. I think that we've been practicing a different style lately, so I'm not too worried about it. I think that if he wants to play these safe tank mid laners, then our mid laner's just gonna scale on him.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair assessment of how it usually goes. With that said, I mean he is pretty efficient on a couple of them, so don't be surprised if he's doing some work there in the mid lane. But yeah, I mean I think that kind of leads us into the next part of this, and that's again what are we picking here? So I again I kind of said the same thing to Brandino. I'm sure 100% Hook you're gonna pick your team. So again, we'll let you do that in a second, but. CLT, you want to lead off the predictions here? What do you think is going to happen here in this series? What's your pick?
Wow, this matchup I felt like is pretty pick'em with kind of the information we got with 3 subs. Man, I think it depends on what version of Vibe Check we get. I think if Victor Apple plays the mids he's comfortable with playing, I would kind of lean towards Vibe Check. But I do think Froggy style has an interesting matchup into them. Because I know Banana Source had a really insane split and jungle. And Frog or Vibe Check is like one of those teams where if you prep correctly against, you can really exploit them. So I probably give this like 60-40 to Vibe Check, but this is another one that draft could really mean a lot here.
Wow, you're jumping way up there. You're giving the big advantage to Vibe Check, even with the subs.
Look, I can't go against Bori, man.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know why I can't.
I guess it could have something to say to you. I can feel it.
I'm
Look, it's okay. It's okay. Do you? I will say I'm gonna take Vibe Check 2 for one reason and one reason alone. Hook. And this is my reasoning. Like you said, you can't pick against Bori until he loses in the playoffs. It's kind of impossible for me. I did that already once, and I was completely wrong. It's hard. But what I will say is, I don't think it's that big of a gap here. With 3 subs, I'm giving them another like a 51-49, man. So I would not be surprised if you guys just pull this out, win in 3 games or something like that. That would not surprise me at all. I think you guys are a great, fantastic team. I think you and Hero are awesome to watch down there in the bot lane. But I do just have to go with what I've seen before, and so if you prove me wrong on that, I'm freaking happy and all kudos to you guys, But that's kind of my take. So, Hook, you can go ahead though.
Yeah, I mean, we will most definitely be proving you wrong. I think that we have the best Bori in the league in the mid lane, and I don't know. I think we'd be very surprised if it even went 3 games. To be honest, I think that it's just going to be handed to a. I think that they're just not on the level we are. I know we came in as the 12th seed. We kind of had a really poor showing in our last game of the regular season, but I think if we played it 10 times, we win 9.
Oh, okay. And just for clarification, you aren't technically fully the 12 seed. Like I said, I don't know if you've watched any bit of the Midwest Weeklies, but we did it to where we're not having repeating matchups. So I think you guys are like the 9th seed technically or something like that. Maybe the 11th seed, 10th seed. I don't know, one of those. And I just don't remember what it is. But you guys aren't the bottom there. It's just set up like this to avoid the repeating matchups. Otherwise, we'd have matchups to where the first 2 rounds, like, and everybody was complaining about this last bit, like, hey, can we play something against something different, So you can always check that on the same spot where you find the home and away. I put the proper seeds in, but it won't matter for the first 2 rounds. It's only going to matter for realistically if like you guys end up playing against another 3rd seed, right? So, but yeah, still nonetheless, I mean, you are correct. You guys are coming in a little lower, but I do think you guys are in a really hard group. So, especially those 4 or 5 teams there, it was pretty stacked. So to come out of that group as the 3rd seed, it's pretty exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, we unfortunately had to forfeit our chance at the 2nd seed because we had a conflict with the scheduling time, so we couldn't play for it. But we kind of knew that we got to beat anybody anyways, and we're pretty confident that we will. So it doesn't really matter.
All right, hey, fair enough. Brandino, I know that you're probably sitting over there, got some words here. I figure I'll let you have a little quick kind of opinion on this matchup, seeing that I know you know some of Vibe Check.
Yeah, so let me start by saying I'm a bit ignorant outside of my group. So what is Froggy Style's team name on the on the bracket? Because I don't see Froggy Style in the regular season. I'm assuming based off of process of elimination, this is Sad Boys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They Sad Boys quit before the regular season started, and Froggy Style was the last team in, so we couldn't change it on Battlefly until the playoffs.
Okay, that's fine. That's easy. All right. With that in mind, here's my opinion of this, and I'm pretty strong-minded when it comes to subs. When you have 3 subs, let's just consider this for an example. You have a game plan that revolves around, let's say, your top laner wants to get level 2 cheese ganks often, and your bot lane knows to play this very conservative style. Let's just assume this. You need 3 subs on the day. Now your top laner is like an avid tank player, and your bot lane is this hilariously aggressive bot lane, and you're subbing those guys out. Nothing is the same. Your early game isn't the same. Your comm isn't the same. What your game plan is for mid game is nothing is the same. When you go into a playoffs match with 3 subs, neither you nor the opponent knows what the hell is going to happen here. I love this, a coin flip, because really you don't know what's going to happen. The only thing I can take away from this is because I don't have that much information on Froggy Style's team. I didn't face them. I didn't get that personal experience. is that, yeah, Bori has a history of taking these teams that he puts together and leading them all the way through. And ultimately, I feel like that means that Bori's got to show up on the day with whatever magic he's got and guide three people he's not played with to a match victory. That's a lot, you know, versus a team that has been playing together the whole split or most of the split. That's a lot. I think the edge goes over to Froggy Style for that. You have to quantify Bori magic in some way. I have faith in him. I personally will say that I think that he's got the edge. But if you're looking at it analytically, you'd say that the team that's been playing together the whole time really should have the advantage. I'm taking it 2-0 vibe check.
All right.
Oh.
Well, there you've heard it here from Coin Flip's own jungler. But yeah, I mean, I think that's very interesting. Everybody across the panel here is picking vibe check, except for Hook himself. But I do think, like I said, it's going to be a really close series, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it play out. So, Hook, you're also welcome to stay around if you'd like. We don't have any more guests coming in, but we do have 2 more matchups. Whether you want to stay or go is up to you. But we want to thank you again for coming on and talking a little bit with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course, I'm taking that as you're probably heading out.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out, but thanks for having me.
Of course,
thanks for
we'll
showing.
talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right, and we got another series here, and we're going to go to the bottom side of the bracket here. We got Vancouver Impact Challengers versus UAFS Esports. I do think that this series is going to be a very interesting one because both these teams have shown to be really, really solid rosters. Sorry, brain fart. Hold on. Besides them having really, really solid rosters, they're also kind of like outlier teams for me. Like I've seen a decent amount from them, but I just don't know enough about them still, it feels like, even through these 5 weeks. Like they've had really like great showings, and they've also had like really bad showings, so a bit of inconsistency there. So with that being said, I kind of feel like the series is in a situation where it could go either way. But right off the bat, I'm just gonna say personally, like before we even really get hard into the predictions, I am leaning a bit towards Vancouver's side of things, just because I think they went through a harder group to get to where they're at, and it also helps having side selection, so they'll kind of get the game one choice of where they want to be, and I think that always helps out a lot as well. For UAFS, just kind of breaking down the team a bit, I think that they are really, really strong in the mid lane and in the bot lane. I think those are like their 2 like main carries. And when Iman is popping off, I feel like the games are just almost impossible for any team to win. It's one of the better AD carries we have in the league. They did have subs these last 2 matchups they had here in tiebreakers. But assuming Sofa is back in there, I do think that means that their top side will be a little weaker. And with that said, though, I don't think it hurts the team that much. I mean, there's a lot of teams that don't have like OP top laners that are really, really strong. And that's not a knock to Sofa. It's just my breakdown of kind of the squad. Whereas Vancouver, I feel like they feel more. They're like just a well-rounded team. I feel like CLT. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like anyone particularly like stands out as this is the star of the show. They're just really, really good across the board and play well as a team.
I would agree with that. I feel like they're very, very consistent. I don't think either team really gets themselves into too much trouble. I do think though UAFS, from what I've gathered, doesn't mind drafting more of a like skirmish and fight comp, to where Vancouver Impact, they play just a lot more standard comps, in my opinion, which I think is what leads to them being consistent in their own unique way. But yeah, I feel like some players that kind of know, like Chiros and the MLAC from Vancouver Impact, the 2 solo laners have had really solid, really consistent seasons. We've seen Chiros have a really good series in the tiebreaker. But I'm kind of with you on the kind of the group side of the discussion, to where UAFS I don't want to say like they had an easier group. I won't say that because all these teams are really tough. But I feel like they didn't get tested as much as like the group C where you had arguably 5 teams that can make it out of there, and you had a really really competitive tiebreaker series with Vancouver against Scorch and Sad Boys. So, or I'm sorry, Froggy Style. So I would probably lean towards Vancouver just because I felt like they did have the tougher road. But UAFS, if they can bait Vancouver into their style of game of like liking the fight, UAFS picks some of these more combative skirmish mids like Zed or got that we got to play against, or even like a Fizz. I think UAFS can make a series out of this.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. So, with that said, I'm going to jump to my predictions on this, and then I'll let you give yours. And if Brandino has any takes, you can chime in after that. I think that for me, I'm going to lean Vancouver here, and I'm going to go with a 55-45. I think it's my biggest spread so far. I just think, again, being battle tested like they are makes a big difference. Not saying that UAFS isn't battle tested, because they were. They had to go through tiebreakers too. But I do think they had a bit of a weaker side of the bottom side of that group. Whereas, yes, Vibe Check and Bucket Jump Bets are very excellent teams and certainly pushed UAFS to the limits in their loss to both those teams. But at the same point, I do think UAFS was the best third seed, or the best third team in that group, if that makes sense, by far to me. I do think they were a little ahead of Cal Poly and For Fun, regardless of what the outcome was going to be. I always had a gut feeling they were going to kind of make it out around week 3, the way they were playing. So, that's kind of my take there. So I'm going to go 55-45. How about you, CLT?
I agree. I would probably go somewhere in that realm, 60-40, in favor of Vancouver. For very very similar points.
Cool. Well, Brandon, do you have any take? Again, I know you don't know too much about all these teams, but wondering if you can kind of give us any little information you want.
Yeah, so UAFS, it looks like, they cook, man. These people play Zen mid, Zed support, Ignite top laner, Air got mid. These people are cooking. I love it. I'm a huge fan of that. So first, cook away. Second, Vancouver puts together much more typical front to back team comps. If you cook correctly, you neutralize some advantage or something. There's like some magic X factor to cooking, which basically says, I don't know what the heck to do against Fizz support. What do I do? And then they get a big lead off it, that kind of thing. So ultimately, I do think that Impact Challengers has the advantage here. I'm going to give them, similar to you guys, I'm going to give them a 2-1. I think this comes down to how they react to a weird draft, and if they can do that or not. If you don't know what you're supposed to do versus a champ before the game is over, the game ends, and you never figured it out, and now you have to play again, and your mental's like, what the fuck are they going to bring out now? So ultimately, I do think that Impact Challengers, puts together better front to backs that are going to be consistently able to deliver, and I want to be proven wrong. I can't be more excited if somebody says, no, I got this. Watch, here's this new pick I never expected anyone to think about, and they're going to run over the series from that. But it's hard. Beating front to backs means you have to get an early lead or some form of strategic advantage that is significant. So front to backs are meta for a reason. So I'm going to give it to Vancouver Impact. I hope to be proven wrong. I will be watching this series.
Sweet. Well, with that said, we have one more to talk about, guys, and then we can get on out of here today. It's been a pretty nice, swift episode. And that's the last one going to be Femboys versus Hidden Leaf. So this one's going to be very interesting, as I think Hidden Leaf is a good team. Don't let the week 5 discourage that. I do think they're good. They were doing some interesting role swap stuff. With that said, though, does that affect them going into playoffs? Do they care? Does it not? I mean, you kind of got a rough end of the stick there in that series. So what's their mindset going in? I think if their mindset is good, then they should be able to at least put up a fight against Femboys. But If it's not, I think Femboys will have their way because I do think Femboys should be a favorite going into this playoffs for sure. Um, and with that said, I mean, you breaking down Femboys is pretty simple to me. Monk Mentality is a excellent mid laner. He's gonna get tons of bans. Seems like he gets it every week. Don't Ban Yasuo has been a very effective jungler for them. Somebody that I think is one of the best junglers in this league right now. And then Inferno, the dude top lane just be doing his thing. He'd be chilling out there, solo killing people. It hasn't been too much of an issue for him. He's had a couple times where he kind of struggles a bit, but if you give him a good matchup, he's a very good top laner. Um, and the rest of the team, like the bot lane, is just. I think the bot lane does their job, and I think they can pop off when given the opportunity to, but they don't have to. But they're a very solid bot lane. On the flip side here for Hidden Leaf, I think the strong points were probably their mid jungle duo was probably their strongest point. I think Tobirama and Hashirama work really well together. I believe I've heard they might be brothers, possibly, and the names imply they are brothers because those guys are brothers in Naruto. If you don't know, but yeah, so it does imply that to me, which could also be why they synergize so well. I think Hangzhou is a fantastic AD, and I think him versus Mac is going to be a fun matchup there in the bot lane. And then J Cash and Minato, I think they're probably like if you want to say the weakest parts of the team, quotes on that, that'd probably be where you'd kind of want to attack, I guess. But I do think they're both very solid at their role. You know, you're not going to just like run them over or anything of that nature. But I do think that the star power leans more towards Femboys. I think they have just more star power than I think Hidden Leaf can handle. And I think that's what it's going to come down to for me. What do you think, CLT?
For the most part, like I agree with it. I think it does come down. I'm probably really keen into the mid lane here because Monk Mentality is a really aggressive style mid laner, and I'm curious to see if Hidden Leaf how they're going to handle that. We've seen even the scaling picks out of Monk, like Syndra, for example. He goes a really like mid game spiky build and very burst oriented build. So he definitely plays super aggressive, which I feel like is just his play style, and that's where he gets a lot of advantages. But I feel like a team can really center in and punish that quite heavily as well. Um, but Hidden Leaf, I think the big question mark of them is just the increase in competition because I feel like the lows of the low from Group D, it's really hard to judge a team to where like Femboys they had I wouldn't say better competition, but the competition spiked a lot harder in Group A and even the tiebreakers as well. Femboys showed a lot of grit, especially in the teams like Coin Flip as well, which I think Brandino could definitely talk about a lot of Femboys here. So I'm just curious to see uh, what Hidden Leaf has to do. I know their Week 5 matchup against Small Brains, they did a lot of role swapping, and they knew they were already in the playoffs. So I don't know if they were just having a little fun here, not trying to show off some stuff, or what the thought process there. But I felt like that would have been another good gauge of how they react to a really talented team. So Hidden Leaf to me in this playoffs has a lot of question marks around it, but they're in the playoffs for a reason. So I would give the edge to Femboys, similar to the last discussion, because of the more competitive group. But Hidden Leafs can make some noise here. This is where they can remind the bracket who they are.
Absolutely. With that said, I'm picking Femboys 60-40. This is my biggest spread. I think Femboys should do very well here in Hidden Leaf and should be able to find themselves in the round two. So that's my personal opinion. I don't have much more breakdown there. CLT, what are you thinking?
I'd probably go Femboys. 60-40. Hidden Leaf might be able to steal a game, but I think this is the series most likely to go 2-0.
I agree.
In my opinion. Not a slight at Hidden Leaf, but again, if Hidden Leaf ends up showing up on this day and takes down what I would consider one of the giants coming out of Group A, I mean, all of a sudden you gotta put some respect on their name and some notice here. So I'm really curious to hear Brandino's take on this one.
Yeah, go ahead, Brandino. What's your take?
Well, I came from Group A. I occasionally watched, teams across the other groups games just to kind of get a gut check on how strong these teams were. And my conclusion from playing against Femboys and from the fact that they play in other competitive leagues like Open Qualifiers and have qualified for later on is that that team is incredibly well coordinated and knows what they're doing. I expect them to be a favorite for finals. I don't think they're going to have trouble going through the bracket up until finals. I think that their only real challenge is at finals. So I take Femboys 2-0 here. It seems very one-sided to me. I hope that Hidden Leaf, shows up, but from, the standings and the stats, it looks like they walked through their group for a majority of it, and then they got to later on, and I can't tell what happened later on. But the first few matches they have, they literally like walked through these matches. Femboys in Group A was very top-sided. We had three teams who were all three-way tied for 4-1 to get out of. You had to have at least 4 wins to get out of Group A, and then at that point you could get into a tie. So they had to fight up against what I consider to be the top end of the spectrum for what I think this is going into playoffs. But they don't have to deal with any of those guys on this side of the bracket. So I do obviously have some favoritism for Coin Flip, but I also think that Instinct is a very strong team. Bucket John, very strong team. All of those teams on the other side of the bracket from Femboys. So I expect that they'll have to meet their match in finals.
Yeah, that's a fair take, and I could see it kind of playing out and shaping out the way you said. I do think they have a bit of a test here into, let me see, Happy Jellyfish if they win. I do think Happy Jellyfish is a very, very good team, but I think outside of that, I can agree that after that, I think it's not that it's a smooth sailing by any means. You never know what can happen if you don't show up, type thing. I mean, we are human after all, but I do think after that, it's kind of okay, Femboys, it's kind of your side of the bracket to win. So it'll be very interesting how it plays out, and who knows? Maybe it'll be that day they don't show up, and Hidden Leaf will shock the Midwest server. So I'm looking forward to all these matches, though. That's pretty much it from me. Again, thank you, Brandino. I'm gonna let you head on out of here because we are gonna do a quick little power ranking part, just really fast. So I'll let you have to watch
All right.
that, and we'll talk to you soon, man. So thank you again.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks for having me. Good luck in your match against us. Looking forward to it. Bye
Dibs on casting.
See you soon.
bye.
All right. I'm not really gonna go too in depth here, but you can just reveal all the teams, CLT. We don't gotta go crazy on this. This is just my take of what I think is going to happen here in the playoffs. So, or not in the playoffs. Let me rephrase that. This is just my take of power rankings. It's a whole new slate. It's all like wiped clean. Whatever you did in the regular season, I'm kind of not completely chucking it out the window, but everybody's 0-0, and these are kind of how I see the team shaping up. So right now, I'm giving I'm still going to keep Bucket Drop Bets here at the 1 going into the playoffs. I think they've showed to be one of the most out teams, but Instinct, I think, still shows me that they are certainly top of the board. Over here sitting at number 2. The tiebreaker match kind of gave me more information. That kind of helped as well. And then Happy Jellyfish at the 3. Femboys at the 4, who I think are like if I had to say like these are your top picks to win, these are your top picks to win for sure, like to win it all. And then you've got Vibe Check at the 5, Coin Flip at the 6, Small Brains at the 7, Prime at the 8, Vancouver at the 9, Froggy at the 10, UAFS at the 11, Hidden Leaf at the 12. I think the rest of those teams, pretty much, except for maybe the last couple, I do believe have a chance at winning, but it's much harder for them to pull it off. And then the bottom of the last two teams, I think UAFS and Hidden Leaf, from what I've seen so far from them, I do think they're going to have the toughest road if they're able to pull it out. But that's kind of my take. And yeah, I know Prime beat Small Brains in the regular season, but I'm going to be honest. I think we threw that series more than they won it. So I do think from what I've seen on paper from us compared to them, I do think we are actually the better team. So they don't have to like it. We're not going to face them anytime soon unless we play in playoffs. So it doesn't really matter, but that is my take. Anything you have to say about this before we head out?
Ah, man, we could have a discussion here. I think you noted the one, Small Brains over Prime. I think Prime is a little low. I do think that the bottom side from like Prime, Vancouver Froggy, UAFS, Hidden Leaf, they have the most amount of question marks, but Prime has beaten everybody in front of them, and Small Brains has beaten everybody in front of them. But I still think like this Group D, a lot of these teams have a lot of question marks. Because I think the lowest of the lows in the group were pretty low compared to like the Group A teams where no one's arguing that Ninja Turts was like probably the greatest 1-4 team we've ever seen. Like they played all of those Group A teams very competitively. I mean, at the end of the day, the bracket will decide what happens, and we'll see a lot of these teams play against each other. I do trust out of the Group D teams as Small Brains just because of the legacy. You guys have been playing together for a while. You know exactly what it takes to make an effective game plan. Like that is the team I think that has the least amount of question marks out of Group D, but having Prime that low as one of the 1 seeds and undefeated team, I mean, man, that's something there.
I get it, man. I do. I understand it, but I think the teams above them are just stronger. Considering the other groups and how much they had to battle out. So that's kind of why they're down there. I think they'd be down there regardless. Even if you want to swap Small Brains to Prime, I think Prime still is not better than the rest of those teams. So that's just my take. But
I think this four team group of Videchep, Coinflip, Small Brains, Prime, I think is a very interesting discussion because I see all the sides of all of the discussions on these teams. I think Prime deserves the bracket. Will figure out if ultimately they're going to be there. I think they deserve to be at like the top of that 4 team group, and then I could argue, Coinflip, Small Brains, Vibe Check, just because of the strength of competition that they've played. But I that's the only thing where I think there's a discussion. I think the bottom 4 definitely have a lot of question marks, and I think playoffs will answer it. I could probably see a world where Froggy Styles above Vancouver, just because they've showcased a lot more with the tiebreakers, and they've played some really, really solid competition as well. So, I mean, this is a hell of a discussion to have, but I think ultimately these bottom these bottom like 8 teams are going to play each other, and whoever's left over, the number 1 seeds will have to take a swing at. So
absolutely. But all right, with that said, guys, I want to say thank you for everyone watching as always. Thank you to CLT. Thank you to our guests today, both Hook and Brandino. And
Yep.
If you want to come on the podcast next week, let us know. Assuming your team wins, I don't think anyone wants to come on after they lose, which you're still welcome to if you lose. I don't mind having somebody on regardless of the outcome. But if you want to come on, let us know. We normally would have guests throughout the season, but it was such a tight schedule with having so many games that we didn't want to convolute it anymore. We probably end up with like 4.5 hour episodes then. So that's why we kind of pushed it to where we were at.
We were close to that as it was.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks guys again, and it's been a great regular season. But now it's time for the playoffs. So let's get these games underway, and let's get the playoff season started with a bang with these first 4 games. And I know the first one's going to be played on Thursday between Vibe Check and Froggy Style. So make sure to check that one out. And we will certainly be seeing you guys very soon. So thank you again, and GG.